The zipper on the garment bag rasped as Nina pulled it down, revealing the lace and satin of the wedding gown I helped her buy. She ran her fingers over the bodice like it was sacred. I stood in the doorway, hands wrapped around a chipped mug of tea, and said nothing. Then she turned, exhaled slowly, and dropped the words like a folded napkin on a table. "It's just easier if you don't come." The breath left my chest before I realized I was holding it. I stared at her, not blinking. My voice, when it came, surprised even me, low and even. "Is this because I disagreed with the guest list?" She didn't answer right away, just adjusted the dress hanger on the closet door and fussed with a non-existent wrinkle. "It's not about that," she said finally, eyes fixed on the fabric. "The venue's small. The energy needs to be calm. You're a lot, Mom. I'm a lot." She didn't say it to be cruel. She said it like a fact. Like I was wallpaper too loud for the room she was designing. "And your fiancé's mother? She's quieter. She won't make things about her." I almost smiled at that. The woman once made a birthday toast that ended with her own divorce story. I nodded. Once. Slowly. Got it. That evening, an email landed in my inbox. Final guest list and wedding timeline. I opened it. Searched my name. Nothing. The line that stung most wasn't even the omission. It was the closing sentence, "Thanks for understanding." I opened my calendar. I had a note reminding me to follow up on the floral order she'd asked me to help coordinate. I deleted it. Then I opened a new tab and searched for flights. If I wasn't meant to be part of Nina's big day, then I'd find a place where I wasn't in the way. A place where I could sit in the sun without being too much for anyone. The next morning, I called a travel agent and said, "Let's plan something different." I canceled the hotel in Napa first, the one I had booked months ago, back when I still believed I'd be there sitting quietly in the second row, wearing a dress I wouldn't outshine the bride in. I had chosen something soft. Something Nina once said brought out the kindness in my eyes. I hovered over the cancellation button for a second longer than necessary, then clicked. Next, I called the resort line I'd found online at 2 a.m. My voice cracked only once when I said Ocean View. The woman on the phone didn't notice. She just confirmed the booking added a complimentary massage credit and offered a welcome drink upon arrival. My husband had always booked the trips, handled the details. I just packed the snacks. But now every decision was mine, and for the first time in years, I let that feel like power instead of loneliness. Before I closed the laptop, I sent Nina a message. No drama, no punctuation that begged for guilt. Thanks for the clarity. I hope your wedding is beautiful. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, I rolled my small suitcase out to the curb and got into a rideshare with a man named Kent, who whistled to 80s music the whole way to the airport. When he asked if I was traveling for business or pleasure, I said, "Peace." He laughed like it was a joke. The airport was crowded. I moved slowly, but no one brushed past me. I wasn't in anyone's way. When the gate agent scanned my ticket and handed me a glass of champagne, I didn't toast to anything. I just sipped. As the plane lifted off, I looked out the window and whispered, "They didn't want me there. So I'll be somewhere. I'm wanted." I snapped a photo of my boarding pass against the sky and posted it with one caption, "Uninvited, not unwanted." The resort rose like a mirage from the coastline. Glass balconies curved toward the sea, linen-draped lounges, framed by swaying palms, and a pool that slipped into the horizon as if it had no end. I stood in the lobby for a long time, not because I was lost, but because I couldn't quite believe I'd brought myself here. A young man with a name tag and a bright smile handed me a chilled towel and offered to escort me to my room. I declined. I wanted to walk alone. The suite was a cocoon of white and soft golds with a balcony that faced the water. I set down my bag, changed into loose cotton, and walked barefoot to the edge of the glass railing. Below, the world shimmered. I lay back in a lounger, sunglasses slipping down my nose, and ordered something with citrus and gin from a server who didn't ask why I was alone. For the first time in months, I felt invisible in the best possible way. No one here knew my name. No one expected me to smile through anything. Then my phone buzzed. I ignored it at first. But the second buzz came with a preview line. "Wait, why aren't you here? My cousin Lucinda." I tapped it open. "They said you were sick." I stared at the message. Sick. That was the lie Nina reached for. I picked up my phone, adjusted my hat, turned slightly toward the sea, and took a photo me, cocktail in hand, sun behind my shoulder, the Gulf glittering like something holy. I sent it without a word. By sundown, my phone listed 3 missed calls from Nina. One from her future mother-in-law. A few others with numbers I didn't save. No voicemails, just pressure. I placed the phone face down on the table, took a long sip, and watched the horizon swallow the last of the light. When the servers lit the torches around the pool, I finally stood stretched and walked barefoot back to my room. The next morning, I planned to sleep until I felt like waking. The morning light came in soft and slow through the balcony doors, the kind of warmth that made it easy to believe the world outside this room didn't expect anything from me. I made coffee from the small machine on the counter, carried it out to the balcony, and let the steam rise against the ocean breeze. On a whim, I opened my finance app. I hadn't checked it in weeks. There, tucked neatly between retirement accounts and savings, sat the wedding contingency fund, $12,000 I had set aside over the past year. Money for emergencies, last-minute vendor issues, or the inevitable "Mom, can you help?" Just this once message. Nina had never sent the final confirmation for the transfer. She never even asked if I still planned to contribute. I stared at the number for a long moment, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I tapped the lock icon. A small window popped up. "Are you sure?" I paused, and pressed yes. The account sealed with a quiet click, like a door closing. I didn't send Nina a screenshot. I didn't even text her. Let the silence speak for once. Later, while scrolling through my feed, I saw a post from the florist, a photo of pastel bouquets, and a caption about requiring full payment prior to delivery. I knew that tone. That was a warning aimed at someone unprepared, someone scrambling. I took a slow sip of my drink, letting the cold sweetness settle in my chest. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like setting down a weight I'd carried too far. I slid my feet up onto the lounge chair, placed a paperback across my lap, and angled my phone so the beach stretched behind me in the frame. I didn't tilt my chin or adjust the scene. I simply captured the moment as it was. I posted it with the caption, "Healing doesn't ask for permission." Then I set the phone aside and opened my book, letting the sound of waves roll in, steady and sure as I turned the next page of my morning. I didn't reach for my phone when I woke. I didn't check the time or wonder how the morning was unfolding 3,000 miles away. I let myself drift through the hours the way the tide moved, slow, unhurried, without obligation. It wasn't until the sun reached its highest point that I finally picked up my phone from the nightstand. The screen lit up in a frenzy. 37 missed messages. For a second, I just stared at the number, not quite absorbing it. Then I scrolled. From Nina. "Call me now. I need you. Please." From my sister, Emily. "Something happened. The groom left. She's crying. Where are you?" Then more unknown numbers. A couple of co-workers I hadn't heard from in months. Even a message that looked like it might have been typed in a rush. Half sentences and panic. I set the phone down. I didn't feel a flicker of triumph. Not even satisfaction. Just a kind of quiet confirmation that life has a way of folding back on itself no matter who tries to orchestrate the perfect picture. I slipped on a pair of sandals and headed down toward the beach. The walkway was warm beneath my feet, and the late afternoon air wrapped itself around me like something familiar. When I stepped onto the sand, the grains shifted and settled, with each step soft and grounding. Shells dotted the shoreline, scalloped, cracked, polished by waves that had never asked permission to reshape anything in their path. The water reached up to touch my toes, cool and steady. Somewhere far from here, people were crying, arguing, trying to piece together a day that had unraveled in front of 100 witnesses. Somewhere, my daughter was realizing that removing me from her wedding hadn't removed the chaos she feared. I kept walking. No replies. No explanations. No attempts to fix what I didn't break. When I returned to the resort, I stopped by the spa desk and booked a 90-minute massage for the evening. The receptionist smiled and asked if I preferred lavender or eucalyptus. I told her to choose whatever she liked. Then I headed back to my room, letting the soft hush of the hallway carry me forward into the rest of the day. The massage left me warm and weightless, my limbs soft as sand, my breath deeper than it had been in weeks. I slipped into a robe and poured a glass of cold water, letting the quiet surround me like a blanket. Then the phone rang. I almost ignored it until I saw the name Lola, my niece. The only one who ever spoke plainly. I answered. "Auntie," she said, not even waiting for hello. It was a disaster. Like, actually cursed. She took a breath as if trying to decide where to begin. The groom had some kind of breakdown during the reception. Left without his phone, just walked out into the street. The photographer walked off, said he doesn't do drama shots. Nana fainted. I stayed silent, waiting for the part I already knew was coming. Then Mom said, "It's your fault." There it was. She said if you'd been there, you would have fixed things, like always. I laughed. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't sharp or sad or swallowed. It was real. I leaned back in the chair, candlelight flickering against the balcony glass. "Lola," I said, voice calm. Maybe if they had invited me as family, not as a fixer, things would have been different. She didn't respond right away. I imagined her standing in a hallway, the noise of the aftermath still echoing behind her, holding the phone in both hands like something fragile. Then softly, "I get it." I believed her. "I'm staying a few more days," I added. "Tell Nana I hope she's feeling better." And I hung up. No guilt. No thread left dangling. Outside, the wind shifted gentle and full of salt. I lit the small candle on the table and let its flame dance. No chaos, no shouts, just the rhythm of waves brushing against the dark. Inside, I turned off the lights. I let the room glow with just that one flicker. It didn't need to be more than that. When I stepped back out, a tray of dessert had been left at my door. Chocolate berries and a note folded beneath the plate. The morning came with a hush, the kind that belongs to early tide and soft light. I'd slept better than I had in years. No dreams, no weight on my chest, just stillness. My phone buzzed once. Lola again. Emily's still in her dress, sitting in the hallway, crying. "Your mom tried calling the groom's family. They said, 'This is your mess now.'" I read it twice. Then again. A second buzz. This time it was Nina. "I can't fix this alone. Please call me." I stared at her words for a long time, thumbs hovering above the keyboard. I typed, "You told me it was easier if I didn't come. Maybe it was." Then I erased it. I didn't send anything at all. Instead, I reached for my journal, the little leather one I'd packed at the last minute without thinking. I hadn't opened it in months. I turned to a blank page and started a list. What I gave, rent for 9 months after she lost her first job. Groceries every week her last year of college. The down payment for her used car. My mother's sapphire ring resized for her engagement. My time, my voice, my presence, my silence. I paused. Then I drew a line underneath and wrote, "What I got in return." An email I wasn't on. A dress I helped pay for that I'd never see. A lie about being sick. A message only when it all fell apart. I closed the book gently, like tucking away a fragile thing. No tears, no resentment, just truth. The tray from the night before was still on the table. I peeled back the cloth napkin and found a small tart with lavender tucked on top. Someone had left a card beneath it. It said, "Peace looks good on you." I smiled. Then I stood, stretched, and walked barefoot across the tile to pour a cup of coffee. The ocean shimmered unbothered and endless, and I stepped out toward it. The waiter set the plate down with quiet reverence grilled sea bass lemon and herbs, a side of charred squash and tender greens. A single candle flickered in the glass beside my water. I hadn't planned on the chef's table. But when the hostess asked, "Will it just be you?" I said yes and didn't apologize for it. Every bite was a kind of prayer, not gratitude to anyone else. Just a quiet nod to myself. For bringing me here. For staying. Across the open kitchen, I watched steam rise blades move sauces stirred in slow, deliberate circles. I used to cook like that. For birthdays, holidays for Nina when she couldn't sleep after finals. I remembered a time she'd called me her safe place. My phone buzzed soft against the linen tablecloth. Voicemail. From Nina. I waited until I finished eating before I listened. I wasn't rushing back into anything, not even pain. Her voice trembled. "I was wrong," she said. "I needed you, but I didn't want you to outshine me." I didn't flinch. Not anymore. So that was it. Not misunderstanding. Not miscommunication. Fear. Fear that I'd walk in and take up too much light. That people would ask about me, see me, remember me. That my presence might echo louder than her vows. I swirled the wine in my glass, watched the pale gold catch the flame of the candle. Then I lifted it and whispered to no one. "Then you got what you wanted. A wedding without me. A celebration where no one would say, 'You look just like your mother.' Or 'You have her strength.'" They got silence. And now they were calling it absence. I took the last bite of sea bass, savoring the crisp skin and salt. Then I signed the bill with a calm hand, tucked the pen neatly back, and stood. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even sad. Just finished. On my way back to the suite, the sky opened in soft violet streaks. And as I stepped into the elevator, a breeze followed me in. I stood at the front desk with my sun hat in hand, the soft hush of waves audible through the lobby's open arches. The young woman behind the counter smiled as I asked for an extension. "One more week," I said. "Same room, if possible." "Of course, Ms. Alvarez," she replied without blinking. "We'll take care of it." I canceled my return flight with a few taps on my phone. No hesitation. Then I booked a boat tour for Thursday sunset sail champagne included. The kind of thing I used to think was for other people. People who weren't needed elsewhere. A message popped up from Lola. "They're planning a family meeting when you get back." Just a warning. I sat down in the shade near the shallow end of the pool. The tile was warm beneath my legs. I replied without bitterness. "Thanks for the heads up. I won't be there." No explanation. No apology. I turned the phone off and left it in the room. Barefoot, I walked down the narrow boardwalk toward the beach. The wood was sun-bleached and soft underfoot, worn smooth by years of footsteps I didn't need to follow. This wasn't anger. This was relief. No meetings. No mending. No explanations for choosing myself. I used to wait for their calls, their texts, their pull on my time like gravity. I used to believe I had to keep orbiting their needs, or I'd fall out of their lives completely. But it turned out I already had. And still I was fine. Better than fine. At the water's edge, I let the tide pull over my feet, drag the sand from beneath them like a gentle reminder. Even stillness carries motion. I looked out over the gulf, its light stretching wide and open, with nothing blocking the horizon. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd freed me. And now I had time. The light spills through the curtains in a slow, golden wave. I open the balcony doors to let it in fully, the kind of light that doesn't demand attention. It just warms everything it touches. I order room service without even looking at the price. Egg sourdough toast and a bowl of fresh fruit. No bells and whistles, just food that tastes like clarity. When it arrives, I plate it neatly. Set the tray by the balcony and take a picture. I post it with a simple caption, "No drama" on the menu. Then I open my messages. I don't scroll. I don't check missed calls. I don't need to. I go straight to the app that holds our family group chat, and I uninstall it. No goodbye. No screenshot. Next, the wedding notes folder. It's still on my cloud drive filled with receipts, florist names, screenshots of fabric swatches, and timelines I made when I still believed I was part of it. Delete, delete, delete. I keep one file, a letter to myself, written in a moment I thought I might forget how to stand tall again. I open it now, reading it aloud under my breath. You are not the backup plan. You are not the bank. You are not the silence in the room. You are Morella Crane, and you are allowed to be whole. My voice doesn't waver. My chest doesn't clench. I close the laptop, tuck the letter into a small journal I'll take home with me, and slide my chair back to face the ocean. I smile, not for anyone watching, not for a camera, not to prove anything, just because I mean it. There are no leftovers from this. Nothing I want to wrap up or revisit. The mess is theirs to clean, and they're welcome to it. I have other places to be. The sky is wide. The day is open. And somewhere along the way, without anyone's permission, I became whole again.